Ross Marquand.
Right there. Okay, nice. How is everybody? This feels like an AA meeting. I love it. Yeah. Hi. How is everyone? So, how's Virginia treating everyone? It's for lovers, I heard. Is this true? This is true. Yes.
This is what I've heard.
Great. This is
what I've heard.
Where did that come from? Where do you think that came from? Do we know? No. Someone must know the origin of that.
The irony is that Virginia was named after the Virgin Queen, right? So.
Oh. Okay.
So obviously she was not for lovers.
Wow, good point. Yeah.
So,
that's interesting. No one knows the origin of this?
By the way,
What would you say?
To boost tourism.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, like that. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, right.
Come here for a swinging good time.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh, Lordy. We're starting off on a great note. I love it. Yeah. How is everyone today? Honestly, everyone good? Good. Thank you for coming out. Yeah.
How have these lovers been treating you this weekend?
They've been great. Yeah, I've done a few shows in Virginia now, and I always just love coming out here. It's like, it's the cradle of our country, you know? It really is in so many ways, like so much history here, and I'm a history buff, so.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I'm from Orlando, and that pretty much started in 1971.
Yeah.
There is no history there. But I went and stood where George Washington stood, this weekend. So now, do you
Chesapeake Bay? Where'd you go?
To the Capitol.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Capitol,
cool. Yeah.
So it was really cool. And in the room where Aaron Burr was tried for treason.
Aaron Burr. Remember those Got Milk commercials? Yeah. Anyone remember? I know you do, but. The Got Milk? Yeah, hell yeah. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do.
Those are good commercials. Yeah.
Those were good commercials.
Yeah.
Now, do you get a chance when you come to places like Richmond with so much history? Do you actually get a chance to get out and check them out? Or?
This time, not so much because I was working in my hotel room most of the weekend. Like I have so many voiceover deadlines that like I can't go out. But normally I try to pack in at least a day or two of sightseeing all these places. So next time I come to Richmond, I will check out your history. What history should I check out? What do you guys recommend? Anything? Come on, there's got to be some history. The Hollywood Cemetery?
Yeah, Hollywood Cemetery. There's like 3 presidents.
Oh, damn.
Two American presidents, 1 Confederate president.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a vampire.
There's a vampire here?
There's a
like what we do.
Like there's there's not a vampire. Like there's the legend of the Richmond vampire.
What is this?
Yeah.
You guys got vampires?
We do have they vampires. This is it's a very spooky town.
It is. I just saw Blade. Well, I watched Blade 2 and 3 back to back in the hotel room the other night, and I forgot how deliciously cheesy those movies are. And I really can't wait for them to make a new one. Like I hope they figure out a script for Mahershala Ali because he's the perfect fit for Blade. But I just want them to do this already. It's been 5 years in development. Like it's not that hard. It's just freaking vampires, and you got to kill the vampires. That's it. That's all you got to do.
So as we talk about spooky, are you into horror, spooky movies?
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, like The Shining was and will always be my favorite horror movie. Like I mean, like it's so well done and it's so psychological in its approach. And like, I don't know if you've seen the documentary. It's called Room 237, and they kind of break down from different historical standpoints some different theories about what it was about, and then of course, maybe Stanley Kubrick maybe directed the moon landing. I think we've been to the moon in reality since then, but a lot of people make the conjecture that we didn't have the technology, we didn't have the ability, and we were in such a space race with the Russians that we really wanted to get out ahead of that. So they had Stanley Kubrick direct it, they think. And there's a whole thing on this. It's really wild, actually. And when you watch, you're like, oh, shit, maybe he did direct this. Because when you watch 2001 in conjunction with the moon landing, there's a lot of similarities. So, yeah.
The Shining Hotel, that's in Colorado, right?
It's. I don't know if it was shot in Colorado, but it's supposed to be set in Colorado.
It's supposed to be set in Colorado.
And I know Stephen King went to the Stanley Hotel where the actual hauntings did occur, and I've been there many times.
That's what I was going to ask, because you're from Colorado.
I'm from Denver, yeah, and that was like kind of a rite of passage. Like when you're at a certain age, you go to the Stanley Hotel and you check out room 217. which is the most haunted one there, and it's there's some stuff happening there for sure.
So is there? So
Yeah.
I don't know if so do you believe? Because I don't know what I believe. If there is something, if you know.
I used to not believe at all. I used to think that was actually horseshit. I thought that was just ridiculous that anyone would believe that. And then it happened to me. I was working at a sorority house, the Pi Beta Phi sorority house in University of Colorado. I was the houseboy there. So my job was to live in the very nasty basement with exposed pipes, water literally dripping on me from time to time, like Chinese water torture. And my job was to cook meals for 80 girls 6 days a week, shovel the walks, fix the furniture, do all the grunt work. And for the summer before they came back to school, I was there by myself. And I know that sounds like this is like, oh, of course you were by yourself, but I really was by myself, and I was fixing the furniture in this one room. I just finished that one particular bed frame and everything, and I closed the door, and my thing was I locked every door when I was done with it. And I looked down the passageway, I just felt something, and I looked to my left, and there was a woman in Victorian dress, blue-white hue to her. I know this sounds crazy as hell, but it did happen. And she just looked at me with these like cold, lifeless eyes, and my dumb ass was like, "Hello," like, and she wasn't scared. She didn't react much to me. She just kind of looked at me for a second and then looked forward and walked into the wall. And I ran after her like an idiot. I was like, "What is going on here?" And it was like 2 PM. It wasn't like nighttime or anything. It was broad daylight, and there was no light fix. And anyway, when the mom got back to the sorority house a few months later, I had to ask. I was like, "Hey, just out of curiosity, did anyone die in this sorority house?" And she's like, "Oh God, what a morbid question. Why do you ask?" I'm like, "No, I'm just curious." And she asked around some of her friends who are historians of the house, and they said, "Oh, I guess one of the house moms died here in 1867. Yeah, so she did die here of tuberculosis." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm pretty sure I saw her." Right. Like that's so. Yeah, normally I wouldn't believe in ghosts, but this time after seeing that, yeah, I do. Yeah.
You're like now we're BFFs.
Yeah. Also, it makes sense because if you think about it, all energy is transposed into different forms, right? If you put a kettle of water on your stove, that water that evaporates, it doesn't disappear. It just transmutes into a different form. So logically, I think, and from a scientific perspective, that matter that we have, whether it's energetic, whether it's in our head or whatever, right, it doesn't just go away. It just transforms into something else. So I definitely think there's a world where all of these spirits are still walking amongst us and being like, "Hey, what's going on?"
But why are they all in like Victorian clothes? Like, where's the ghost that died in 1992 and their clothes are backwards like crisscross? Like, where are those ghosts?
Oh, that would be cool. Or hammer pants. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? How did you die? That would be cool. That would be really cool. Yeah. All right. I thought I heard something.
So there is no.
Is it a ghost? Are we summoning a ghost today? Should we? Do you guys want to do a seance?
Oh, no.
We can join hands?
So that's one thing. Yeah. Oh, that's what, like, Ouija, anything like Ouija boards, like Exorcist. Like, I bought the Exorcist of Emily Rose and put it in my DVD player, and as soon as the movie ended, my DVD player broke. Ooh. So I never threw out the disc because I didn't want to, listen, I say I don't believe, but then I'm like, I didn't want to piss off that, but yeah, so I always kept the disc, but I never played it again. I don't, like Ouija boards, stuff like that, I don't play with.
You can't mess with Ouija boards.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, but you didn't think we were talking about ghosts today, did you? Yeah.
I mean, we're here at Nightmare Week.
That's true. Yeah. It is
now, do you have
spooky.
any? Since it is October, what is this? 13th.
Yeah.
Sunday the 13th. Ooh. Sunday the 13th is way worse than Friday the 13th because tomorrow is Monday.
Yeah. Agreed.
Just full of.
It's so scary. Yeah. The Sunday scaries. Yeah.
Do you have Halloween traditions that you had growing up?
I used to go hardcore for Halloween. Like my brothers and I, it was and still is my favorite holiday. So we would prepare for months. I remember my brother made a Borg outfit from Star Trek: Next Generation, and he worked on that thing for a month and a half. Had an arm with a reticulating thing, just like from the show. Like he went, I mean, he's an engineer, but like he went hardcore for it. But I usually go pretty hardcore too. I did Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I did Hunter S. Thompson one year, and my next door neighbor worked in plastics, and I had him make me a lizard tail. And so I, had the fishing waders on, strapped a big lizard tail to my ass, and taped a record player to my face and everything, and pretended like I was on adrenochrome, and that was a fun night. Yeah.
That is awesome.
It was a cool costume. Yeah. And I did like the full like Hunter S. Thompson, like, oh good, oh shit, what's this? Like I stay in character the whole time, so I really treat Halloween with reverence. It's a real beautiful holiday to me, yeah.
Do you still get a chance to go out, or is it because either traveling or working, you're kind of like the day passes, you're like, oh, it's November?
Well, it's funny how it worked out for the last 8 or so years of the show, of The Walking Dead. Like, we were working every single Halloween, which you'd think, like, that's a great place to celebrate Halloween at The Walking Dead set, but it's like, every day is Halloween on The Walking Dead, so we were kind of like, oh man, I want to dress like something else. This year I'm going to be Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah?
And I got the costume ordered from Amazon, and I'm so excited to come back home tomorrow and pick it up because that's my guy. I've been practicing my Macho Man.
Practicing your Macho Man?
Oh yeah. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be good, yeah. I don't know where I'm going to be. Where am I going to be on the 31st? Oh, I'm going to be in San Antonio. So that'll be fun, yeah.
You pick up a bunch of Slim Jims.
Stop it with Slim Jim. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Speaking of Walking Dead, I'm from Orlando. I think I have Halloween Horror Nights socks on. Big Halloween Horror Nights fan. Did you ever get a chance to go to Halloween Horror Nights when they had Walking Dead there?
Yeah, Greg Nicotero, our EP, he would frequently have a lot of us go in conjunction with the Walker Stalkers that we used to do. So after we would do the con during the day, we'd all go over to the, and sometimes we'd pop in and like scare people who were going through the maze. That was fun. But yeah, I did that for quite a few years. And then of course the con ended, but yeah, I miss Halloween Horror Nights. Those were always a good time,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, hello. You going again?
I don't. I'm gonna try.
Okay.
So a lot of the Nightmare Weekend GalaxyCon office are huge Halloween Horror Nights fans.
Oh, yeah.
If you can't imagine, we made an entire convention around the concept of Halloween. So yeah, we're huge Halloween Horror Nights fans, and occasionally get the opportunity to go together. By the way, so we do have a live microphone right there. If you guys have questions on your, so I think we kind of started talking about it, but like horror movies growing up, did you have a favorite movie, a favorite horror icon? Like were you a fan of Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, things like that?
It's funny. I watched Halloween from an early age, and I liked that movie a lot, but I never was that scared of Michael Myers. I know that sounds crazy, but like, he never really did it for me. I was always like, all right, you got a knife, you kind of creepy, all right. But like Freddy got in my head as a kid, because there was something about a guy who haunted you in your dreams that was just like, well, that's terrifying because there's no escaping that. I got to sleep at some point. And the way they killed some of the people, like especially Johnny Depp in that first one where, and it was, you guys know what I'm talking about with the bed? It was a really cool way they did it. Like, if you haven't seen it yet, you got to check it out. But like, they had him get sucked into the bed basically, and then the blood just erupts from his body. But they did it in a very practical way. They basically fixed all of the furniture to the top of the room, and then they flipped it, and then it was just, you just let gravity do its thing. So it looked like the blood was just going up to the ceiling, and it looked terrifying. But in reality, it was just letting gravity do its thing. I thought it was so cool. Yeah.
Is there a franchise that you would like to work in?
Well, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, that's a gold standard, I think, for horror. I think The Shining, you can't improve on that, nor should you. You should just kind of let that be. So I would just like to see that kind of. Just no one can touch that again. I think it's good. Yeah.
Maybe an untapped Stephen King movie.
Book. Sure.
Maybe if there, because there's obviously there's.
Is there an untapped Stephen King movie?
I mean,
I feel like it's all been.
He does. He's the newer stuff isn't. This is being recorded. The newer stuff is great. But it obviously hasn't been translated yet to film, so there's still opportunities to work on.
Well, I would love to see like Dean Koontz or some other guys who we don't see as much of, because there's so much great horror writing out there. There's really good stuff. I just think it has to be directed properly and they get the right script. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, you got a question?
Yes, hi, my name is Pat, and I've been texting with Guy Augustini, aka Sunspot.
I love Guy.
X-Men.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a question, but he said to tell you are a total fire.
Thank you.
My question is kind of related to what you're touching on. A lot of actors are crossing over into audiobooks, and they're doing quite well. Is there a thriller or a horror story you'd love to read?
Oh, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I'm illiterate, so I can't do that, but... That's a joke. Now people are like, "Oh God, that's so sad." No,
the energy of the room.
It's like, wow, he's a 43-year-old man. He doesn't know how to read. No, there's a lot of books I would love to read, but unfortunately, there's so much competition now with AI, and they're using these modulators and these emulators to like do a lot of that. I actually read Nikki Sixx's biography, The Heroin Diaries, a few years ago, and I did all the voices for that, and that was a blast. So as long as AI doesn't take over entirely, I would love to do that. I would love to do Cujo, actually. Cujo always scared the bejesus out of me as a kid. I don't know what it was about the writing of that, but like that one really messed me up. So I would love to do Cujo, yeah. And tell Guy what's up, and that he's fire as well, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, he is because he's Sunspot.
Yeah, of course, yeah, literally, yeah.
Speaking of that, so you were raving to me for the longest time, like, hey, you have to watch X-Men. You have to watch it. And you're like, but the next time I see you, you have to watch. So I was like, all right, so I'll go and watch it. And then like I got done with the first episode, and I was like, is this fool even in this? Because like and I was like, huh. And then come to then the reveal and things like that. Obviously, X-Men, big in your life growing up. So how was it to audition, get that phone call that you were going to be Charles Xavier?
Yeah, that was nuts because that show is really the reason why I became an actor. Wolverine, Cal Dodd's performance in that was so compelling and so interesting to watch that I was like, I want to do that. I was a 10-year-old. I was just like, I want to be like Wolverine. I want to do what that guy's doing. And you'd never think 30 years later you're going to be working on the same show that made you want to be an actor in the first place. So I auditioned for Magneto and Charles, and I felt really good about both, but I really actually felt better about the Magneto.
Oh, really?
Because they were trying to do like a straight voice match to the original series because they wanted it to be a continuation as opposed to a total revamping of the show. But I really feel like everyone got the part they were right for because Matthew Watterson as Magneto was perfect for that. He actually was raised in England, so he has this sort of mid-Atlantic read for the character that's perfect. And everyone who works on the show was either involved in it from the beginning, from the 30 years ago, or was such a fan of the original that they then were like, I have to work on this. So everyone's a nerd on the show. And I really feel like it's some of the best work we've ever done, honestly. So if you haven't seen it yet, watch X-Men 97. It's so damn good. And next season's going to be even darker. And I play Apocalypse in that season too, so it's like... it's going to be real good.
So you didn't audition for Wolverine then?
Well, Cal was
already...
Yeah, okay. He was definitely coming back.
Oh, so he was coming back.
Yeah, so So I did ask, though. I was like,
okay,
hey,
that's
Bob,
what I was wondering.
I was like, oh, I would love to throw my hat in the ring there. But yeah, that was already taken. And as well it should be. That's Cal's role, And I think as much as I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Cal will always be Wolverine for me because that was my childhood. That was in my ear. He will, no matter how many times Hugh Jackman says a line on screen, I'm gonna be imagining Cal's mouth and voice coming through his performance because that is Wolverine to me. He really is. He embodied that. And Cal's actually Canadian too, so he has that built-in, sort of, hey bub, sorry about that. You're like, oh, that's how a Canadian would say that. It's awesome.
Now. was there any table reading at all, or was it all solo studio?
Yeah, unfortunately, COVID kind of killed that. I mean, like, you know, in the 80s and 90s, you'd get everyone together. And
That's why I was wondering if they did the
Yeah.
same style from the original.
No. Unfortunately, that's, you know, and it's one of the few things that has stayed the same since COVID, is that they just decided that we're going to keep doing that. We're going to minimize health risks and everything. But yeah, that's unfortunate, because I would love to record with everybody. That would be amazing. Maybe someday for charity we'll do that. Like, it would be fun. Like, just have a table read together. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
At an event like a GalaxyCon.
Yeah.
Just, do a stage read.
There you go.
Yeah. Bosses that are watching this.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do that. Yeah.
So you said obviously next season. So it's obviously you can't talk much about next season.
Yeah.
But is there a release date that you can talk about? Do you know a time frame?
We're pretty close to having all the voices recorded.
Okay.
Now we're just waiting on the animators to do their thing. That's the thing that takes the longest time, especially with like Invincible as well. It just takes so long to match lip flap to the footage and everything, and they're drawing a lot of these by hand. So they're doing it old school, which is wonderful, but that also means it's going to take a lot longer. So it might be 2025, might be 2026. I don't know.
Now you mentioned Invincible. Were you a fan of the book?
Again, I'm illiterate, but yeah, no. I didn't know I knew about the book, but I hadn't read it until I got the part. And then I asked Robert if I should read it. He's like, yeah, man, have fun. And I read all the way through the first compendium, and then kind of stopped because I was learning a little bit too much about my character. And I was like, I kind of want this to be a surprise. But I love Invincible so much. I actually, this is going to sound sacrilegious, and I'm sorry, Robert, but I prefer it to the Walking Dead comics. I just think what they're able to cover in Invincible in terms of morality and, you know, what it means to be a superhero, and they tackle all these things that Marvel does well as at times as well, but much more brutally and much more honestly, I think. And I think that's always going to be more interesting to me as an actor, because one thing I hate about a lot of superhero movies is the moral definitiveness of it all, you know. I actually personally think Thanos had a good point. I'm just saying, there's too many people in the world, too many people in the universe, and sometimes you got to clean it up, you know? And I think his plan was actually really kind. It was dispassionate. It was like, we're going to just do a lottery system, and whatever the lottery, rich or poor, old and young, doesn't matter. If you get picked, you get picked, and sorry, but like...
No pain.
No pain.
No pain.
Yeah, you get, you know, I was like, that's great. What a great idea. Now, you could also make the point that with the Infinity Gauntlet, he could have created more universes and more resources. One could say that. So that is a chink in his plan, for sure. He didn't have to be such an ass. But I do think that movie in particular was so interesting, because the moral definitiveness that Marvel usually has was just thrown right out. And in Civil War, same deal, where it's like, whoa, maybe we're not all good, maybe we're not all bad, maybe there is some gray area, and I think that's always way more compelling. Yeah. So
I do want to talk about your efforts in the Marvel universe, but one thing again, back to Invincible and the stories and that you get to hear from people about what Invincible means to them. From not the traditional comic book story, not the traditional, hetero, straight, comic book, that we know from the beginning of time. How has that been to you? Hearing from people who have said that, that this changed the way that they view comic books.
Oh yeah, I mean, like that's a great way of putting it too. It completely redefined the genre, and I love it. I mean, because I've been reading comics since I was 10, and it's rare that I read a comic that I'm like genuinely blown away by and not sure what's going to happen next. For one thing, the good guys and the bad guys both do pretty horrific stuff, and you never know if someone's gonna die for real, like Rex, or they're gonna come back. Like, I get killed so many times as Immortal, but they keep reattaching me, and I keep coming back, which is great. But there's just never any certainty with these characters. One person might be alive and dandy one frame, and the very next get their head bashed in, and I just think that's so interesting. And it's so much more fun to read a comic like that, where you really don't know what's gonna happen from one page to the next,
As I said, I want to talk about Marvel. So I was just on a Disney cruise on the Disney Wish, where they have in one of the theaters, there's a Marvel restaurant, and in there, we see an appearance from Ultron.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
How was that? I want to do that shit. I've never. I did Ultron on the voice in this cruise, and I was like, you don't have to pay me anything. I just want 2 tickets to the cruise, and they never got back to me. So I wanted to do this.
It's great. Like,
was it cool?
It popped up on screen. I was like, I know him. Damn. Like,
wait, so it was cool though?
Yeah, it's very cool.
So you get PIM particles, like you and your family go into the restaurant, and you're given like these PIM particles.
It's like a cylinder.
Yes.
Basically. Yeah.
And essentially, you have to use these and work together as a family to get enough PIM particles to take down Ultron. And the ship will the light changes, and it looks like it's like shutting down, and I'm taking over. Yeah. That's cool, man. I want to do it. Damn.
Yeah, I was like, I know that. Everyone was
like,
what do you mean? You know, like, I know him.
I got to do this ship. I didn't know it was still running. It was recently?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Man, they didn't give me tickets. I was like, yeah, I want to go. All right, cool.
How did that come about? Because obviously there was a voice of Ultron for, in the MCU. So how did that come to you?
Much like with Hugo Weaving and Red Skull, they tried to work it out with James Spader, and I think he was just like, I'm focusing on the Blacklist. I think he had his plate full, and I was grateful because I was like, I love his characterization of Ultron. Characterization of Ultron is, I think, perfect because it's the perfect blend of Tony Stark and Vision, right? Like. That voice is exactly what you would imagine would come through. Just this sort of snarky, menacing, I know everything. And I love that voice so much. So when I got the chance to play that, I was over the moon. And then a couple years later, they asked me to do it for What If.
For What If. And
I got to play him in that as well. So, and then, of course, in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. So they've used me quite a few times as Ultron, which has been nice. Yeah, I'm like the pitch hitter. Like whenever they can't get the guy they want, they're like, "Hey, come in from the bullpen. You'll do."
Right.
Like,
recently, Wreck-It Ralph is.
Wreck-It Ralph, yeah. I don't know. Anyone play Disney Speedstorm? Okay, four of us. All right. It's so fun, and it's like Disney's answer to Mario Kart. And I think the gameplay might even be a little better. And the worlds, there's so many different worlds you can choose from, and you're talking about the entire Rolodex of Disney characters from the 60s onwards, and that's pretty awesome.
And it's free.
It's free.
It's free.
Yeah, this is not a commercial for Disney Speedstorm, but seriously, you got to play it, and it's so fun to play Wreck-It Ralph.
Right.
Zooming along on the streets, like we're gonna wreck it. It just makes you feel happy to be doing that character driving around. It's fun, Yeah.
Is there a character? A voice that you've had, you've got to do Han Solo and obviously Red Skull, Ultron, Ralph. Is there something inside of you that you haven't been able to that you want to do on camera voice that you're like, man, I have a great one, just book me?
Well, I'm still waiting for them to call me for the Donald Trump biopic. It'll be animated. It'll be all animated. It'll be wonderful. It'll be the most wonderful animated film you've ever seen, believe me, okay? I'm going to get up there. I'm going to have the tiny accordion right here, and I'm going to go back and forth with my tiny accordion. It's going to be beautiful, but it'll be an invisible accordion. It'll be called Donald and his Invisible Accordion, and it's going to be really terrific, believe me. You're going to love it. It'll be in theaters next year, believe me.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
I would watch that movie. Like, Donald is a little kid and he's just playing with his invisible accordion. That would be an amazing movie. I would watch the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, let's do that.
Because you do so. I love your trumpet. I bought the little tiny hands, that Kristen Wiig had from SNL, and I was like, we're way too close to the election to get you canceled. Yeah. So we'll wait till lose or draw. We'll wait till afterwards before we pull those up.
I don't think it's inflammatory to do an impression of anybody. I think as long as it's just an impression, I don't mind doing it. So yeah, you can bring out the small hands next time.
Has anybody come to you and said, I don't like that, or oh my gosh, that was you, you hit me, you got me exactly?
Yeah, well, I did it in Portland last month, and that did not go over well. Really did not at all. They were like, "Don't do that again." I'm like, "Sorry," but I just think it's all in good fun. If you're having a good time with it, who cares? But Yeah, I never want to upset people with
Right.
it, but I just think it's a funny voice to do, you know.
Have you gotten to do somebody's voice in front of said person?
Yeah, I did it a few times. Matthew McConaughey was one, but Larry David was the big one that I just like. I'd never want to do that again. And it's where I developed my rule, like never do an impression of someone for them. I was doing Michael Keaton's voice match for this show called Clear History. It was a HBO movie, and Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm was literally 5 feet behind me, directing me, and the engineer was in his booth, and I don't know if you've seen the movie, but like Michael Keaton's basically just doing Beetlejuice the whole time. He's like, "Hey, come on, what are we doing here? Yeah, come here, hermano, come on." You know, like that's basically the voice he's doing. And thank you. But like, I'm doing the thing, and Larry keeps laughing, and the engineer's like, "Larry, you got to stop laughing, man. You're ruining the takes." He's like, "I'm sorry. He just sounds just like him. It's weird. It's funny, you know." And he's like, "Who else do you do? Who else do you do?" And I did Brad Pitt and Michael Caine, a few other people. And he's like, "That's great, that's great." And the engineer goes, "Do Larry." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't. I've learned the hard way. I don't do." He's like, No, it's okay. Let's hear it. And I was like, "Well, you know, it's pretty good." And he sits back in his chair like this, and he just kind of licks his teeth and goes, "It's not your best." And I was like, "Oof." And the rest of the session was awkward as hell. So I don't do that ever again. I'll never do that again. Bad idea. Yeah. So, yeah.
When did you start developing the impression, whatever you want to call impression? When did that start coming along? When you first realized, man, like I have some. Not that you could make a career out of it, but when you realized that you do have a knack for that.
I think I started when I was 6 because my parents watched Johnny Carson show or the Tonight Show, and that was the only thing that made them laugh. Like we were really tight on money growing up. I wouldn't say we were like in the poorhouse, but we were like living definitely paycheck to paycheck. My dad was struggling really hard to pay for a family of 5, and the only thing that made them laugh during these rough times was the Tonight Show. And I thought if I could be like him, my parents won't fight as much. They won't be, won't be so much trickle-down beatdowns from my brothers, because they used to beat the crap out of me. So I just used humor as a deflection. And it wasn't until really I hit puberty that I could ever sound like any of these people. Because like a 6-year-old trying to do Johnny Carson sounded nothing like Johnny Carson. But I just kept going at it and kept trying. And then it wasn't until moving to LA that I realized there's actually a market for that. I had no idea. I mean, that people don't sit you down and go, you can make money from impressions. Like, I don't. But that's where my bread and butter has been for the last 10 years now. So, yeah.
It's an incredible story. I mean, your whole story of almost quitting the industry.
I did quit.
Did quit the industry. Is an incredible story. That happened like right before, like basically Walking Dead. You had quit the industry before you hit Walking Dead, right?
Yeah, it was like almost 2 months before that audition, and I felt so good about that decision. I was like, you know what? I got $120,000 of credit card debt that keeps getting worse every month. I had 20 or 21% interest on every card I had. I had 4 cards, and you can imagine that just accumulates more and more, and you're like, oh, I'm never going to get out of debt. This is awful. And you just feel like there's a noose around your neck when you're living like that. And the decision to move to New York to pursue photography, writing, and art, even though it's probably going to make even less that way, at least I was going to be in control of my destiny. Like with acting, you have to prove that you're an actor, like every time. Even now, like after all the things I've done, I still have to go and audition and be like, can I have a job, please, sir? You're like, just give me the damn job, man. You know I can do this, come on. But you have to audition every time. And with photography and writing and art, you don't have to audition. You just have to do the work and then show people the work and be like, do you like my work? Yes or no? Great. And I just thought that was very powerful. I thought there was really a lot of ownership in that. And when I got the audition for The Walking Dead, I had auditioned for the show already twice prior. And I told my manager, you know what, thank you so much, but I'm good. I don't want to go to New York with another rejection under my belt. And she's like, Ross, we worked really hard to get you this. I'm like, I appreciate that. I don't want to go. And so she really pushed me. She convinced me to go to that, thank God. But it was the only audition I've ever done in my life that I didn't care about the outcome. Like, as soon as the audition was over, I was like, what should I have for dinner tonight? Well, usually you're like, oh, I should have done this differently. I should have done that differently. You're beating the crap out of yourself. But I think that's a real lesson there is like, you think you will never be happy unless you get that job or that girlfriend or that guy or the house or all these things that these are external factors. But the moment you just say, and not to overuse a phrase, but let go and let God, you know, just like, I have no idea what's going to happen. It's out of my hands. I'm just going to have a good meal tonight, focus on what's in front of me. That's when the shit happens. That's when the good stuff happens. And I always tell people that you can't fake it. You can't be like, I don't care about this job. I don't care about getting this person. I don't care. Because the universe knows. They can pick up on that. You have to fully give up, and that's when the good stuff happens, I think.
Have you thought about using the experience that you've had in the film and television entertainment industry combined with that love for writing, photography, filming, and kind of do maybe write something, maybe film something behind, work behind the camera?
Well, I actually have been writing that houseboy script about the sorority house for a while now. I mean, it doesn't have to have the ghost or anything,
Right.
but like I just think the story of a guy literally living in the basement with exposed pipes while these really rich girls are like living in this super nice place and lapping it up, and I just think that the story there is really interesting about class and not like class structure and everything, and I just thought it would be a fun
It's like the
way
Titanic in school.
Exactly. Yeah, literally. I was Jack Dawson, I was like, come on, man. I could fit on that door, you bitches. Let me on there. Come on. But most of them were really rude to me, but some of them were really lovely. But it was a very like humbling experience, when you're basically like working for these people for free, for free room and board. It was like not free room and board at all, but like it kind of you get humbled real quick when you're cleaning up vomit 5 times a week and cleaning out pipes and fixing furniture, and it was an intense job. Probably one of my least favorite jobs. Yeah, I would say.
Hey, but you got a ghost out of it.
I got a ghost. I saw a ghost.
You got a ghost.
How many
BFF?
people have seen a ghost? Honestly, oh damn. Okay, wow. Whoa. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy then. So that's awesome. Okay, we're gonna come by my table later. We're gonna talk about that. I want to hear what your stories are. That's cool. That's amazing. Usually I ask and people are like, no, I don't know. So that's really wild. There must be a lot of paranormal activity here in Virginia, as we've established.
I mean, it's an old. If like, there's no ghost in Orlando, right? Like, there's just no ghost in Orlando. But someplace like here, maybe that. And as you said, the energy, the history.
Oh
of
yeah,
a
I'm
place
walking
like this.
around some of the buildings here built in 1740s. Right. I'm like 17. You can't even fathom that being from Colorado. It's like we don't have that.
No.
It just. The westward expansion happened much later, and it just we don't have that at all. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So we just have a few more minutes here. Is there anything you want to say to your fans that have come out to hang out with us today, that have come to your table? Again, you're filming stuff. You don't get to. You film. You cut for the day. You wrap for the day. You go home. You come do it again. You don't necessarily see that. That feedback, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe like a theater, you get that instant feedback. But when you're filming, especially you're recording something, you've recorded for X-Men 97 season 2. We won't see that for a long time.
While, probably, yeah.
But when you get to come to a show like this, like Nightmare Weekend, and you get to hear the stories, see the pupils of the people connecting with you, what is that like?
I just want to say thank you for watching all the stuff that I've been a part of, and not just my stuff, but just the fandom in general. I always wanted to go to StarCon when I was a kid. That was the Star Trek Comic-Con in Denver, and I could never afford it. So I just was like that kid that was like always passing by the convention center, like, oh man, that looks awesome, but I can't afford it. Damn, money was so tight for us back then. So the notion that like I could be on one of my favorite shows that I'd been trying to get on for years, and now people want to talk about it. I'm tickled pink that people give a shit still. I mean, forgive my French, but it's amazing to me that year after year, I've seen kids grow up at these things. I've seen families time and again where they're sharing stories about real personal stuff that they've dealt with. Cancer, myself, they're sharing their cancer stories. They're sharing their stories of struggle, and it's just very touching. It's very awesome to be a part of this, you know. I never thought I would be on the other side of this, you know. So for me, this is every day I'm at one of these things, I'm in heaven, honestly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So please,
and
please come by the
yourselves.
table later and talk, because
Yes.
I always love talking to people. So, and I talk a lot, so forgive me. I'm yammering, so I'll shut up now. Yeah.
And give it up for yourselves for again being a part of this thing that we do, these Nightmare Weekend shows. Before we go, let's commemorate this occasion with a little stage selfie. You guys want to take a little selfie, a little group photo here?
Can we have this thing in there? What the hell is? Oh, it's a skull. I was been looking at it from behind, and I was like, what is this? Like a frog? Look at that